Folks, good morning. This is Dave, the crypto consultant. It's currently March 24th. That would be Wednesday, 7:07 a.m. Central Standard Time in the United States. That would be 07:07 Universal Standard Time -6. What I want to do today is to give you some history. This is actually part of my lecture that I did aboard the Celebrity Silhouette, which was a cruise ship in the Baltic Sea several years ago. What we're going to do is look at some cryptocurrency history here. Now, in order to get a handle on this, and this is a good background education for anyone who's thinking about investing in cryptocurrencies, you probably need to be read in, so to speak, on where all of this stuff started. We're going to go back, okay, to 1998. You can see on my screen, I'm in Wikipedia. This is ancient history, by the way, as far as modern cryptocurrencies go in 2021. This is 1998. And there was a person named Nick Szabo, a computer scientist. He was also a law school graduate and a very interesting person in many ways. Now, Szabo wrote a paper, and this was somewhat of an academic paper, I think, called Bit Gold. You can see the name right here, Bit Gold. And what he talked about was that there would be a cryptographic puzzle. Now that relates directly to the predecessor idea of the blockchain. Now he uses some strange language here. He talks about a Byzantine fault. This is something that computer programmers talk about. The other keyword would be a public key. What he envisioned was that there would be something called a digital gold, an electronic gold, and that in order to utilize and make more of that particular gold, you would have to solve a cryptographic puzzle. Okay. Now, what he was describing there is the mining process, even as it exists today for the most part. Mining is the process of solving a very complicated mathematical problem using a computer. And as you do, you get more of that. Now, Nick Szabo was an American. However, he was from a Hungarian family. Szabo, it sounds very much like a Hungarian, and I'm sure he had close ties to Hungary, being from the descent of a Hungarian family. Now let's go back and look at what started everything. Okay, this is the actual white paper from Bitcoin. It is entitled A Peer-to-Peer Electronic Cash System. Now, the actual publication date on this was around 2008 or 9. Now, reportedly, there was a person, and this person has never been seen, never been interviewed, never been talked to by anyone other than a few obscure early users and people that were interested in Bitcoin going back to 2007, 8, and 9. Now, this person's name is given on the white paper as Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, we had in the heading or the subheading of the white paper, we had a name or an email address here at an obscure URL called gmx.com, and also a reference to a website, www.bitcoin.org. Now, that does still exist as a repository for the Bitcoin Foundation, all things Bitcoin. You can go to bitcoin.org and look it up yourself. Now, in this paper, which wasn't that long of a paper actually, What this person, Satoshi Nakamoto, is talking about is the modern Bitcoin, or not so modern Bitcoin by today's standards, but was a new idea back then. And he talks about the process of making transactions. He talks about time stamping the transactions. He talks about something very important in mining called proof of work. Okay, that term, proof of work, um, indicates there, even today, that in order to mine a cryptocurrency, you have to prove that you did the work that was required in order to receive the additional asset that you mined. So now this took off. There have been many people that have mined Bitcoin going back to this era, 2009, 10, 11. There was programming language that was based upon this particular white paper that you're looking at right now. There was quite a bit of programming that was put out by people like hobbyists and some academic related people and probably some real computer science people, and they learned how to do it. They learned how to make more Bitcoin. Now, this was the very early days of Bitcoin. So I'm going to skip over and I'm going to show you something rather interesting. Now, this is in the original, what is called machine language. Okay, this has no readability at all as far as a human being is concerned. You cannot read this. However, it is read by the computer, and this is early stuff. This is an old um, style of programming called machine language. Although it does exist today, computer languages in general have been modified and modernized to where this kind of cryptic stuff you would never see anymore. Now, if I can focus your attention, folks, right here, this is embedded in what is called the Genesis block of Bitcoin. It says the Times '03, January 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout, or, and this is a reference to the word bankruptcy. Okay, now, why did he put this in here? Well, because when this was written, that was the headline on that particular day. The 3rd of January 2009 was when the original Genesis block of Bitcoin was actually written. And this was the headline on, I believe, the Times of London, possibly the New York Times, I don't recall. But it was a major newspaper nonetheless, and anyone could see that. The word chancellor makes me think that it might have been the London Times, but this was kind of mm, it was a little bit of a jab actually toward the banking system, that this particular article and this particular day was picked. Now, when you talk about Bitcoin, you're going to hear the term the Genesis block. Supposedly, this was written and coded by Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, let's ask, who is Satoshi Nakamoto if he doesn't exist? Well, there have been many people who have come forward. Now, originally, Satoshi Nakamoto was thought to be a 37-year-old Japanese man, probably living in Tokyo, Japan. That has been disputed. It has often been speculated that Satoshi Nakamoto was an acronym or something, or that there was a possibility that it represented a group of programmers, not just one person. Now, John McAfee, interesting figure in the computing world. John McAfee is the founder of McAfee Antivirus. Now, that's been around as long as I can remember. You could use McAfee on some of the very early Windows based computers, even before Windows 3.0, I think there was a McAfee version. I'm not absolutely certain of that, but it has been around. The McAfee brand is big in the computing world, and you can go to your local Best Buy and pick up a McAfee antivirus software to install. So John McAfee comes out and he says here in this article in 2019, now this is years after the original Bitcoin white paper, this is 10 years after that was introduced. John McAfee comes out and says that he has spoken with Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto and he plans to reveal his identity. Well, okay, John McAfee, where is he? I mean, that was what, 2 years ago now, and we still have not met Satoshi Nakamoto. No one has ever met Satoshi Nakamoto. He is a mystery. He or it or them remains a mystery. Now, I've seen when you go into the level of conspiracy theories, these speculations get rather bizarre. Now, John McAfee himself is rumored to be, and this is a rumor, there is no proof of this that I've ever seen, but there is talk that perhaps John McAfee is a CIA operative. Now that is a rumor, okay? That is in the realm of conspiracy theories. But when you do think about it, if all of these people are putting this software on their computers and they really don't know how it works or what it does, but it supposedly prevents viruses, well, that software could also be key logging, or perhaps it could be recording your screen, your mouse clicks, et cetera, et cetera. That's what the controversy is regarding John McAfee. Okay. Now, so we never saw him produce a Satoshi Nakamoto. We never have met Satoshi Nakamoto, and there's still speculation to this day of who it was. Now, I'm going to say this, and this is also off the record, but I have read some information on the internet that there is a possibility that Satoshi Nakamoto was none other than Mr. Alan Greenspan, who was the Fed chairman for many years. Alan Greenspan, in his early days, was a very prominent computer programmer. Now, that dates back to the Unix equipment, the Unix language, the Unix system. That would be your your mother or father's computing system. That is when you had tapes that ran on these giant reels. Computer systems were very large at that time. Most of them looked like refrigerator boxes lined up. I can also remember you had to have a special floor under those computing units to run all the wiring because there was so much heavy wiring and stuff. So Alan Greenspan back in that day was a prominent computer programmer, and then he became the Fed chairman. And Alan Greenspan is a super smart person. He could literally sit in front of Congress. People like Ron Paul, for instance, or Rand Paul would be questioning him for hours, and he would really not say anything at all that was very relevant or something that you could put your finger on. He could talk forever about growth of the economy, shrinking of the economy, the inflation rate, the gross national product, et cetera, et cetera. But he would not say exactly what they wanted him to say, which were certain facts and figures about the Federal Reserve. So who knows if that's even true? Today, we still don't know. Now, that's Bitcoin, okay? So nobody's ever really met the founder of Bitcoin. Now, let me take you in a slightly different direction. Okay, this person is none other than Vitalik Buterin of originally Russia and then Canada. Now, Vitalik is the founder of the Ethereum token, or the Ethereum ERC20. 20 or E20 programming language that makes up Ethereum. He also is the founder of the Ethereum network. Now, he is a super important person in the world of cryptocurrencies. Vitalik Buterin was basically a prodigy. Now, you can see in Wikipedia, they have some information about him. He was born in a town called Kolomna, Russia. It looks like a very nice place on the, I guess on it says it's on the Oka River in Russia, and it does have one of those onion dome churches in it. Now he was a computer scientist, but before that, when he was very young, he would, as I heard the story, when he was in the third grade or so, he was put into a gifted children's program, and I heard that he would be able to answer questions based on mathematics, like for instance, multiplication questions, large numbers like three-digit numbers and so forth, and he would be able to instantly spit out the result of what it was. Like for instance, 356 times 965. He could tell you what that was. That's how smart he is. Now, he is still alive. He's actually fairly young. They give his birth date as January 31st, 1994. I think that would make him something like 27 years old. So he's still even like really young. He went to the University of Waterloo, which is in Ontario, but he dropped out. Now, I've said this before. When you get into these people like Bill Gates, William Gates, Vitalik Buterin, and others, it is not unusual to see where they have dropped out of college. Now, that's amazing in the respect that this person is a gifted person, okay? Very, very smart person, but did not finish college at the University of Waterloo. However, um, I guess he didn't need to because the University of Basel in Basel, Switzerland, which is one of the world's oldest universities, also very notable for the number of scholars that have come from there. Basel, Switzerland is one of these kinds of places where um, they have things like academic study in very high regard, okay? And he received an honorary doctorate from the faculty of the Business and Economics School of the University of Basel. So I guess he got his degree one way or another. Now, as far as his involvement with Ethereum, he got started with Bitcoin. Okay, he was evidently fascinated by the idea of Bitcoin, and he began a publication called Bitcoin Weekly. It was um, a magazine, a publication of some kind, and a print edition was done. Um, it looks like in 2012. But he talked a lot about a new kind of Bitcoin. Well, what he did was he forked. Now, when we say fork, okay, fork is a terminology there that means simply that you took one cryptocurrency and you use that same programming language, the protocol as it's known, and you created a second cryptocurrency from it. Now, he did exactly that. He took the Bitcoin protocol, he forked it, he made it more streamlined. And when he created Ethereum, he referred to it, according to this article, as Bitcoin Light or a light Bitcoin. And the reason for that was it did not take as much effort to produce one. Now, I would invite you, if you're interested in things, um, scientific things that are different, why don't you go to Vitalik.ca. Now that's the Canadian URL. Vitalik is spelled Vitalik, his first name. And you'll see this very simple website, folks. This is like an old-fashioned website. Now this is Vitalik's personal blog. Okay, he sees no need to have fancy graphics. There's no photographs, nothing like that on here. But here's what I've noticed the couple of times I've looked at it. Now, I went to the Nobel Museum in downtown central Stockholm in the Gamla, and I was looking at the writings, the notations of Albert Einstein, and they do have Einstein's actual notebooks where he had handwritten his thoughts and his ideas and his diagrams. Now, when I look at an article like this, now this is July 20th, 2020. Let me just show you the mind of a genius. Okay, this is very much to me like what I saw in the Einstein notebooks. Now he gives some regard here to a couple of his colleagues, um, Doncred Feist and Karl Flourish, very either European, well, could be Russian, could be European, but um, these people are most likely Europeans, I would think. Okay, so he talks about homomorphic encryption. Now, this is just one of his posts in this blog, but look at how his mind works. This person has been thinking about this idea, which we don't really know. We're not, I don't think we're even, I know I'm not capable of understanding what homomorphic encryption is. Okay, that is way beyond my pay grade. However, for Vitalik, this is an interesting, I guess, a problem to solve or an idea to put out there on the internet and to see how people respond to it. It does have a lot of mathematics. Now, I went to engineering school as part of my education, and I can tell you that when you start to see formulas that have this many variables in them, by the time you calculate that, by the time you solve that formula, you will have pages of calculations. Okay, this is like really high level, probably on the level of quadratic calculus, I would imagine. So this is the inside of the mind of a genius. I mean, you can take another article and you can see the same thing. Some of the wording that he uses, for instance, base layers and functionality escape velocity. Well, what in the world is that? Who knows? Um, I mean, this is extremely difficult to understand. It's not necessary that you understand it, by the way, to be a crypto investor. I just want to expose you to the mind of Vitalik Buterin, who is a modern day genius, a prodigy, a mathematical wizard, and he has the history to prove it. Now, Ethereum, even though he's only in his late 20s, as I understand right now, Ethereum is the number two cryptocurrency out there next to Bitcoin. Now, Vitalik Buterin, we all know, was the one who did that and the one who takes responsibility for Ethereum through the Ethereum network and other things. He is directly involved with Ethereum even today. Now, that is enough about Ethereum and Vitalik Buterin. By the way, I do want to make the point while I'm talking about it. Okay, most of these tokens, the ones that we call the altcoins, the ones that you see advertised coming out of an ICO, are based on Vitalik's work. They are based on that Ethereum E20 protocol. And so you have millions and millions of cryptocurrencies individually Also, I would think hundreds or possibly thousands of different companies and cryptocurrencies that have been branded using the Ethereum E20 protocol, which you can still get today if you go to GitHub. You can download Vitalik Buterin's very first iteration of that particular programming language and create your own cryptocurrency. I've done it myself. It is not that hard to do. Um, and you can have your own cryptocurrency based on Ethereum. Now, let me jump to another character. Okay, we are, I believe I have a picture here. Yes, I do. Now, this is another individual that is very important in the history of cryptocurrencies. Okay, we're looking here at Mr. Charlie Lee. All right, Charlie Lee. Now, Charlie Lee um, is, well, let's just go back in time here. Okay, so first of all, going back to 1995, he graduated from, I guess, his high school, the Lawrenceville School. He attended and received a bachelor's in computer science in 1999. Now he has a master's of engineering in computer science. That is a very high level degree, especially coming from MIT. That would be an extremely difficult master's to achieve right there. So he gets out of MIT, and in 2000 he joins something called Kana Communications, which is not so important, but when we get all the way to 2007, folks, which was that was a period of like 5 years, maybe almost 6 years, Charlie joined Google as a software engineer, and this is where he really came into his own. Now, this was 2007 we're talking about. So as a software engineer at Google, he worked on the mobile app for YouTube, which is used. I use it often on my cell phone. If I want to look at YouTube, that's the best way to do it, is to use the app. He was a programmer on Chrome. Okay, Chrome, the Google Chrome browser, probably the most used browser in the entire world. Charlie Lee was one of the programmers on that. Then in 2013, Charlie Lee goes over and he starts working at Coinbase. Now, within this time period, he had invented the what was for a long time the third most popular of the cryptocurrencies, and it is called Litecoin. Litecoin is one of the early ones that came out and challenged Bitcoin and Ethereum by being faster than they were. And Litecoin, Litecoin works on what's called the um, the Lightning Network, and this was all part of Charlie's idea and theory to speed up to make transactions faster. And Litecoin, still to this day, is a very good cryptocurrency. It is fast. Now, the price action on it, I'm going to discuss that in a second. But the deal is with Litecoin is that it's less expensive than Ethereum and Bitcoin, and it's much faster. So he even said this when he invented it, was that he wanted it to be for small transactions. Now, one of the things that's happened to Charlie, there was some controversy when he went to work for Coinbase. I mentioned just yesterday, I think that Coinbase is one of the country's largest of the crypto exchanges, and that Coinbase is issuing stock, and that Coinbase will become probably traded on the New York Stock Exchange very soon. Well, Charlie went to work for them, and he was in the process of managing the Litecoin Foundation at the time. He felt like he had a conflict of interest. So Charlie Lee sold or gave away all of his own Litecoin holdings. Now, people thought, well, that is really weird that he did that, because he's the founder of it. He believed in it. Why would he give it away? Well, because I think Charlie Lee has an ethical and moral manner, and that he wanted to be free and clear of anyone criticizing him for having any kind of conflict of interest, which he did divest himself of Litecoin, although you do have to remember that he divested himself of it at a time when Litecoin was worth quite a bit of money. So I'm sure he made himself extremely wealthy in the process. Now, this article, uh, people compare, obviously, by the title of it, they compare Charlie Lee to Elon Musk. Now, speaking of those Satoshi Nakamoto characters, the ones that people think, well, maybe that was Satoshi Nakamoto, maybe this person. Elon Musk comes up fairly often. Now, when you start looking at the realm of speculation, rumor mongering, and not crypto, but conspiracy theories, Elon Musk, I'll have to say, he has really caught a lot of attention. Now, I've seen people writing articles where they have said that they think Elon Musk could possibly be an alien. Okay. So I know that is really strange sounding to most of you, but when you look at some of the things that Elon Musk has managed to do in such a short period of time, to start an automobile company based on the electric car, and then to start the SpaceX program, and then to have connections to all other kinds of technology. I mean, it's an amazing story. Okay. Now they talk about Charlie Lee being compared to Elon Musk. Well, this goes back some years ago. Now Charlie's currently about 34 years old, but there was an article that was comparing him to Elon Musk, and he didn't like that very much. Now it's interesting here that that he was in an interview speaking with I think it was Decrypt, which might be like an online magazine, and he was on a Zoom call, and in the background it looked like he was sitting in what was referred to as Darth Vader's ship from Star Wars, that wherever it is in his house that he does his business is obviously some kind of super sophisticated looking um, computer room of some kind. Now, Charlie Lee would certainly be wealthy enough to afford just about anything he wants, but it's interesting that these figures like Elon Musk and Charlie Lee seem to lead this somewhat mysterious life. Now, Satoshi Nakamoto is even more mysterious, and we don't know who it was. And then we have Vitalik Buterin over here on his blog talking about things that I'm sure people in computer science, engineering, computer engineering, and etc. will be studying this for years to come. These are the breadcrumbs left behind by a genius, okay? And as I said, this reminds me a great deal of looking at Albert Einstein's thought process in his manuals at the Nobel Museum. Very interesting stuff there. Now, when we go down the road, we have Charlie's controversial issue there with being called Elon Musk or compared to Elon Musk. But I want to just show you, to wrap this up, where these things stand today. Now, I'm going to start with Litecoin and work my way backwards. Okay, so Litecoin, now I'm a big fan of Litecoin personally. I think Litecoin has a lot of advantages to it. If you start reading about cryptos, what you'll find is that there are issues with the mineability, with the transfer times, with lots of other issues that have to do with the different types of cryptos, the different names of cryptos, and so forth. So let me try to get this chart to work here. All right, so if we went back, oh, let's just go back. Well, we could look possibly here just at the 1 year chart and see what Litecoin has done. I don't know why that is not looking right, but it's not. Let me go on the 1 hour. Yeah, okay, much better. All right, now we go on the 1 hour and then we do the 1 year, and that should, no, it's not working. I'm sorry, folks. This is not good. Let me find something that works. Now, I use TradingView, by the way, which is the best of the analysis platforms, in my opinion, when you start looking at any kind of investment. So we had action in Litecoin over the last year that has gone up and down. Now, the up part was approximately around just recently here in March. We had a bump up in Litecoin. We had another one in February. We have had several places along the history of Litecoin's life where it has exceeded, I believe, the top of Litecoin's trajectory was at the 360 mark. Today is currently trading at roughly 195 as we speak. So Litecoin, it's up today a little over 5%. It's a fairly stable asset. If you want to buy a crypto that you can pretty much count on is going to hold its value, Litecoin, in my experience, does not lose its value dramatically. It is fairly stable. Now, the next one back that I talked about, okay, we talked about Ethereum. All right, now Ethereum has been around the second longest to Bitcoin. Okay, so everybody in the crypto world knows Ethereum. Ethereum is certainly a player. All right, now when they have ICOs, an ICO is where you are pretty much buying a cryptocurrency before it's issued. All right, what that means is that you have to put money in, you have to stake. Ethereum normally is the means of transfer there. So Ethereum, a lot of times, right before one of these well-publicized ICOs, you'll see a spike in the price of Ethereum. Now, what's the reason for that? Well, everybody's trying to buy it in order to participate on an ICO. I can remember some pretty big ICOs. One that comes to mind a long time back was Veritasium. Now, Veritasium is still around, but I remember specifically around 2018, running up to the Veritasium ICO, the price of Ethereum went up because you had to have Ethereum to purchase the tokens for Veritasium. Just a little history there. However, even today, Ethereum is a good bet. It is a good, solid cryptocurrency. It still holds that number two position in capitalization. So we have Ethereum. Now let's look at the mother of all cryptocurrencies quickly here and see what's going on with Bitcoin. Um, Bitcoin, how do we describe Bitcoin? Okay, it is the grandfather, by today's standards, I would call it the grandfather of all cryptocurrencies. There have been multiple improvements upon this original white paper formula that was given for Bitcoin. That being said, it is still tradable. It is still one of the most valuable. Well, it's by far the most valuable. In fact, we have here, and this is just a recent run up around the 13th of March, where Bitcoin actually hit, it looks like it hit the $62,000 mark. Now, for me, I was all excited when it hit 60. Okay, that was a huge milestone when Bitcoin crossed over in that 60 range. And I can remember doing a report on it when it crossed into the 50,000 range. And we thought that was the high water mark for Bitcoin. Well, every time we start saying that, then you start to get these gains, and these gains are enormous in terms of the dollar amount. I've tried to report on that as well. Like when you see a cryptocurrency go up, and I'm just going to show you real quick what I'm talking about. Like if we focus in right here, okay, so we've got, we're currently at 56,888. Prior to that, the low was 53. So you're talking about approximately $3,800 in value for Bitcoin gained within just I think that looks like a 1 day period of time. I mean, we're talking about March 23rd. Today is March 24th. Within that period of time, if you started here and you went here, Bitcoin has a $3,893 increase in value in that short period of time. It is practically amazing to me how much money that means, how much money that represents. That represents literally billions and billions of dollars. I know I'm starting to sound like Carl Sagan. I'm probably dating myself, but whenever Carl Sagan talked about the universe, he would always use the expression on his TV show Cosmos, well, there's billions and billions of stars. Well, I'm starting to sound like that because there are billions and billions of dollars being converted on a daily basis, we see now, and it is going into Bitcoin. There are people liquidating assets such as real estate, such as stocks, such as mutual funds, etc., in order to get in on Bitcoin. And I don't think we've seen anywhere near the upside potential that Bitcoin has. There's a lot of speculation that we're going to be at 100,000 by December. Well, look at it now. I mean, we just see right here where it hit 62,000. So I ask you, how much further do you have to go? It's less than $40,000 to that 100K mark. We may see the 100K mark by the beginning of summer or midsummer, and then be headed toward the $200,000 mark by the end of the year. That could possibly happen. There is a lot of interest in Bitcoin. There always has been a lot of interest in Bitcoin, and it is literally considered to be the gold standard of cryptocurrencies. And as you look back on that Szabo paper there, where they referred to Bit Gold, well, that's exactly what this is. I have a lot of faith in it. I don't have a problem with investing money in Bitcoin at all. So those are the three major cryptocurrencies. Now, just to wrap up, we have talked about Charlie Lee with Litecoin. We have talked about Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum. We have talked about who was Satoshi Nakamoto. We've talked about the Genesis block of Bitcoin, where it all started. This is what you're looking at here, folks, is the very, very beginning of Bitcoin. This is what is called the Genesis block. This code that I'm showing you is the first Bitcoin. This is literally embedded into the first Bitcoin. This interesting reference to this newspaper article about the chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. Okay, that was on the 3rd of January 2009, and this is the hexadecimal machine language of that Genesis block. And this is the white paper of about Bitcoin that has this person's name, Satoshi Nakamoto, who disappeared off the scene. Now there was some communication with who was thought to be Satoshi Nakamoto, a 37-year-old Japanese man, but he dropped off the scene. Now he never came forward in public. He never revealed himself in public. However, there are things where people who are interested in computer science and so forth communicate with each other. They're called forums. Okay, normally forums. And Satoshi Nakamoto was on a computer forum, and he was conversing back and forth with some some computer science people, um, and then he disappeared. So we don't really know what happened. We've never heard any burial, any funeral of anybody that would have been claiming to be Satoshi Nakamoto. Although, as I have discussed, there were a lot of people who did try to claim to be him, but were proven wrong. Okay, they were proven not to be for one reason or another. So this is an interesting thing here. This whole evolution. Now we've talked a lot over the past few days about some of the more modern cryptocurrencies, but I just want you to be aware of what the early parts of the crypto world were like, and to understand that when you say Bitcoin and when you say Ethereum and when you say Litecoin, what the differences in those are. And then, of course, I'll always try to expose you to these up and coming new coins, these altcoins, these game changer coins, the tokens and so forth that have come out over the past couple of years and even the past year. For instance, I talked about Polkadot yesterday, introduced in August of 2020. August of 2020, Polkadot is already on its way up. In fact, it's ahead now of Litecoin, which used to hold the number three position as far as cryptos go. And we can look here and just see quickly that Polkadot is in a trading, it looks like it's got an up and down cycle between a top of 40 US dollars and a bottom of 34 US dollars, and it is on a regular cycle, as you can see. So Polkadot is holding its own. Now, this one has only been in existence a short time. Litecoin, on the other hand, as we talked about, or Bitcoin or Ethereum, have been in existence for multiple years. In the case of Bitcoin, dating back to 2009, then you had Ethereum, I think, in 2011 or 12. So those are antiquated, very antiquated, as a matter of fact, by time. And it doesn't take a long, the things in the crypto world happen so fast that just a matter of 1 year can seem like a lifetime in some other industry. But in cryptocurrencies, things happen overnight, literally overnight. So here we are. We're looking at good old Bitcoin. It's climbing right now. It looks like back out of a low right around the 53.5 mark. Currently standing at roughly 56,889 here. That is Bitcoin. I've given you an overview of the history of cryptocurrencies. I wish everyone a super successful and productive day, and I'll be back tomorrow with another report. This is David Dillard, the crypto consultant, speaking to you from New Orleans, Louisiana, in the U.S., in the deep south of the U.S., as a matter of fact. And you can see me at David Dillard, the crypto consultant, on YouTube, or you can go to my Facebook page, The Crypto Consultant, and you can find my posts there. I want to thank everyone for watching this, and I will be ready with another report tomorrow.